And we'll get rolling here in just a little bit. Wanted to mention, by the way, for anyone watching the replay in Future Ready Educators, we are running our FRE 12 Days of Christmas giveaway challenge. So, started back on the 3rd of December, but you have until the 19th to post and showcase your work and share what you are doing in the classroom, what your students have made, and highlight your program. There's a chance to win. Oh, there it is. Taylor's got the copies of Show Your Work. We have 3 copies of that book that will be individual prizes to teachers. So um, I'm I'm a little jealous. I've yet to read that book. I talk about it a lot. I've read quotes from the book, but clearly I need to read the whole thing.
I guess I didn't realize you didn't have the book. We'll have to get that.
I
Hook
know.
you up. Christmas.
I
Christmas
was gonna
gift.
say we should have
I,
when we ordered 3. I should have said, "Hey, add a fourth."
I think we get started since we're 8 minutes late. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Yep. Well, we'll rock and roll. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about student-driven social media marketing at your school. This is part of a presentation that I actually was able to give last year at NITA. So this is a fun one that we've kind of always kept in our back pocket, and we love talking about how students can be involved in promoting your school through social media. So uh, the way I like to start this presentation is with a very bold statement. I'm not afraid to put my voice out there. I hear a lot of schools say, "Yeah, we care about social media and we care about what our image looks like," um, but then they don't have a plan, right? Um, whether it's they are actively posting or they're not actively posting, they say they care, but they just don't know where to go, right? So that's the bold statement. That's the framework that this webinar is built on, right? And so if you're here live, if you're watching in the replay, you fit into one of these 3 categories. You are either a teacher who currently runs a media or broadcast program that is actively posting to social media, or you're a teacher who has been handed the social media logins for the first time and said, "Hey, do this." Or the third is you're a bystander who knows that your school could be doing better, and you're interested in how that could look. And so you're here kind of on a fact finding mission to see how students can take over a media program. And to my knowledge, or the fourth one is you just stumbled on this replay by accident. And that's also okay. We're glad to have you here. So the real challenge, especially for teachers, uh, is that when you become involved in social media, you're no longer just a teacher, right? In addition to already the amount of hats you wear, you now have to think a little bit like a marketer. You have to think like a content strategist. You have to think like a designer. How's it going to look? And you even have to act a little bit as the unofficial PR director for the school because you're helping shape the narrative that gets posted out on social media. And the real thing is, how do we do all that? How do you, as a teacher, do all that without it becoming a second full time job? That's that's really the place where we get to. Is that sounds like a lot? Obviously, we listed out 4 different roles that at most places are individual people in each of those roles. Well, sometimes at schools it has to be just you. Now, the awesome thing is, kind of letting the secret out of the bag, but it was in the title, is that your students can absolutely do this, right? So by the end of the session, my goal is that you'll walk away with a framework to help your students start to lead your school's social media platform or program. And we're going to give you tools. We're going to talk about some templates we have or that you can create, and plenty of examples to help you guide in the process. But most importantly, I want to implement a mindset shift, right? That this work can be student led and not be an additional burden to the teacher, other than taking some time to guide your students as you get started, right? And again, Students are kind of the ideal people to be experimenting with social media because it's what they're on every day. Me being removed from high school, 4 or 5 years, I know that the kids are all on social media. I'm on social media. And so it's just, I mean, the amount of hours I have, I don't like looking at my screen time report, right? Because I'm like, man, I am constantly plugged into social media. But it's one of those things. And so your students are too, whether for good or bad. And so help turn them into your school's best marketers, right? And so the idea is the big idea to sum it up is you're a teacher, not a 24/7 content manager. So we're going to help you transform your school's social media to be an additional teacher responsibility and turn it into a student-driven learning opportunity, right? So um, that is that is the goal. So even if a school posts consistently, but they don't have a plan, um, they're the big problem is that there's no bigger guiding idea, right? There's no consistency in what you're talking about, right? And so schools really should take social media seriously because if it's done right, it can do things like generate revenue opportunities. It can position your school as a creative thought leader in engaging students to post on social media. It can showcase the student work at your school and the different voices that your school has. It can help you connect to your community and beyond. Social media, especially something like Facebook, is a thing where a lot of parents and grandparents are, and they want to see what the school's doing. And even alumni, and if you're a school that is trying to get students to your school, then it can even help, maybe promote your school to prospective students and parents, right? Um, and then the last thing is it breaks down the walls of your school, and I don't literally mean with a wrecking ball, but when I use the term break down the walls of your school, I guess a one word for that would be transparency. Not full transparency, but what are some things that you can do that says this is what our school does, right? So an example that I was thinking of, and just because it's getting close to Christmas time, this is the last webinar like this before Christmas. So I was thinking about my mom, who for most of her teaching career is a fifth grade teacher. She's now teaching fourth grade for the first year, but when she was a fifth grade teacher in social studies, we did a classroom project called Christmas Around the World. And the idea behind it was students paired up into groups. They chose a country of the world, and they did a research report on it. So they hung stuff out in the halls so that students walking by could learn. And then the other big thing they did was they prepared traditional food from the country they chose. And then we had lunch, like the last day of Christmas, right before Christmas break, and we got to sample foods from all around the world. Well, this is something that my mom on her own does a good job sharing, on her own personal social media accounts. But for a long time, the school never really covered that, right? And the newspapers didn't really have time because, at least in our area, it's a county newspaper. So there's multiple schools in it. So they have to be selective on what they can cover. And in my mind, I'm like, this is a perfect event that you could, have a high school kid run down real quick over the lunch break when they're eating and take a photo of it and just get a little snippet, or take grab a kid and say, hey, what are your thoughts about this project, what do you love, and then just post it. And then people in the community can see, like, hey, our fifth grade social studies kids are learning places around the world, they're learning about different countries. And my my thought process as I envision what that looks like is, you start with one of those projects, get some great traction on social media, then you start having other teachers come to you saying, "Hey, by the way, just a heads up, our class is doing this project. If you'd love to come down, and we'd love to have you highlight it," right? Now you're not searching for stories. You're getting people coming to you saying, "Hey, it'd be really cool if we could highlight that." And again, that's why you need lots of bodies, because you can get to a lot of events. Um, but again, you're signaling that, hey, we want to share, we're proud of what our students are learning in school, and we want to share it because we have some really creative teachers teaching things in a really creative way. So again, the whole idea here is, what if your students ran the show and you just guided your process, saving you time and getting kids a great experience. So really, there are two models that we've kind of looked at, and as we've worked with schools, we've kind of boiled it down to this. You either model one, which is on the left, teacher-led projects. So you as a teacher assign, projects that you would like the students to accomplish, just like any other classroom assignment. Hey, we have this event going on. I need a student to go do this, right? That's the teacher has, the master calendar and the list, and then starts to, hey, who wants to do this? Who wants to take care of that, right? We have a football game on Friday. We need to post 3 photos, one caption, one graphic. Who's doing the photos? Who's doing the caption? Who's got the graphics? Stuff like that. What we've like about this model is, if you are just beginning, this is the one for you, right? Um, because it allows you to still have, the hold on it that you need to have as a teacher in a classroom to manage it. But everything does flow through you as the teacher, right? All the events have to come to you. You have to decide, we're doing this, we're not doing that, and then you have to work with your students to assign, who's taking care of what. Model 2, on the other hand, that we've seen some schools start to implement, which is really awesome, is the idea of student-led roles, right? So your students are given titles like, one student is the social media manager, one is the graphic designer, one person, let's say they like to be on camera interviewing people, they become now your interviewer, right? And they do the same role for a quarter, a semester, sometimes even the whole year if you really want them to. So that anytime an event comes up, the student knows, hey, we're probably going to need, like, if I was the interviewer, hey, we had a football game. Maybe I need to try to grab coach after the game or a certain player. And that's their role. And they're spending their time thinking about how they can best, in their respective role, cover an event. And again, the students run the content creation based on a calendar. And so then your position as a teacher is now just an editor and a mentor. Like, hey, have we thought about a different way to try to do this? It seems like we always get to an hour before the game and we're scrambling around. Maybe we should plan this out in class a little bit more. Kind of that overseer, and really just getting a good, a good grasp of what every student's doing. But in both cases, the biggest thing that we know about is that structure is the key. You've got to have boundaries, got to have expectations, and then you got to be able to give your students a little bit of creative freedom. Not every time is it going to turn out the way they want it to, but this is high school, and so this is your chance to try something and fail, right? Without getting fired, right? If I were to, absolutely bomb this webinar, maybe Taylor would have a chat with me and say, "Hey, let's do this better," right? Now, if I were just giving a presentation in high school, I get a bad grade, whatever, I do extra credit, it recovers. Um, so let them use the time in high school to really experiment. So, what are some of the tools and strategies needed? What does the structure actually look like, right? So, we've kind of broken it down into 4 different segments. There's brand guide, content calendar, graphic templates, and then how you look at analytics to hopefully expand your program. So, school brand guide. Why in the world would you want slash need one of these? Well, the easy answer is every major company has a brand guide, and I see schools as um, mid to large size businesses in the way that they operate. But you want to have the same voice. You want to have the same colors on graphics. You want to have the appropriate logo. So, what we have are showing right now is the Striv Education brand kit, right? So, when I was making this webinar, I had the brand kit uploaded in Canva as I was designing it, and I made sure that I was using the appropriate logos. The font that you see on screen is Poppins. The colors are accurate, and as we go throughout, if you see some of our branding assets, you'll see some of the photos included there as well, right? And obviously, as we get more photos in classrooms and updated, we like to kind of keep our images fresh and not overused, and so that kind of rotates in and out. But based on that, now any webinar that I make or any piece of content I design should have relatively the same feel, the same colors, for sure the same logos, which is a big deal. So, and you can even go as far as with your school, like what are the mission, vision, and values? If you start thinking about that, that could even be helpful knowing those as a school to decide what kind of content you highlight, right? If your school is really big on the new style of learning, well, then maybe you should be highlighting why it's working and why it's important that your school is doing it this way. If you're kind of an academy style class or school, you're going to highlight it probably differently than the traditional school model, just because students days look a little bit different, or if you're block scheduling stuff like that. Like there's each school is a little bit different. So what makes your school different and unique, and highlight that. We talk about building a content calendar. This is a screenshot that we took last year. Trey Perry from McCool Junction. If you've been on a couple webinars, I don't know if there's one that I have done yet this year that I haven't mentioned Trey, but it's also just because he's doing their program right. And so we absolutely love to highlight what is actually working, right? And so this is part of our production event planner. So if you are a digital media education school or broadcast education school, um, we have this as a Google Sheet. We also, not to you know, sh- show too much, but we are building something slash have already built a really cool tool that I think Taylor will probably talk about here at the end. So stick around because really exciting. But I don't want to say too much because we still got actual content to focus on here. But as you can see with this example of Trey, is that they have the date of the event listed, what sport or activity it is, who maybe the opponent is, where it's going to be at, what's the start time, and then who's assigned to it. Now, a little extra background on Trey. Trey was formerly, before he was a teacher, actually in the journalism industry. He worked for 1011 News out of Lincoln, Nebraska. And so he actually has kind of that newsroom feel when you walk into his classroom. Like it's a really cool atmosphere to be in, and because he's kind of closer to me, I get to hop into his classroom a bunch. And you walk in and he's got a big whiteboard, and it's like, all right, here are the projects everyone's working on, and he gets an update from everyone at the beginning of class. He might cover something for 5 to 10 minutes, a new thing that he wants students to learn, and then the students are just continuing in class to work on their projects that they have. And so one of the big things that they do is a used to be monthly kind of newsletter. They called it the hoof print. So it was like it was like a paper, like a physical paper. Now, because the class size has shrunk a little bit, they've gone to just doing it quarterly. But it's really cool because every student is assigned different articles for each different page and different topic. And so it's really cool is that you walk in, you're like, okay, they're deciding what goes on page one, what goes on page two, and then they go out, and now that they know what's going to be featured, then they go out and they're like, all right, I need a photo of this, I need a photo of that. And so again, what this content calendar helps Trey stay organized of like, here's who's assigned to this, here's where they need to be. It kind of even helps with equipment checkout. I need to have a camera ready for this student because they're going to this game. And so it keeps everyone on the same page, which is a really big deal with a content calendar. Another thing is graphic templates. And we have some actual school examples here in a few slides, but this was a graphics template that we used when we were covering the Crossroads Conference Championships, played at the York City Auditorium. But the idea behind these is Danielle, at the time when she was making our graphics, she said, instead of waiting until the game's over and creating a graphics from scratch, let me create a template for the champs. We knew that there were only two teams playing in the championship game, so she made a championship version for both, and she made a runner-up version for both. And then you just post whichever one wins. And then her only goal during the game, she knew kind of the style of images that she wanted to capture the players in, and so she took the three different photos of the players in action. She put them in the template, and then we posted on social media. It was that easy, right? There was a lot of work, in the couple days leading up to it to kind of design the template and get all the details. Like, one thing I've never noticed until now is that it actually, behind the 2025, it says it's a picture of the York City Auditorium kind of back there, which I just discovered. And I've been looking at this graphic and talking about it for a couple months now, and so I'm like, you see every designer is unique, and you start to see new things. That's really awesome. But the idea is you do work beforehand to then go to an event, grab a couple pictures that you need, and then when it's time to post it, you just post, right? And again, when it comes to sports, which is a lot of what we cover in as a high school, just because it's super available. There's usually at least one sporting event a week. It feels like, especially now it's basketball season. There's multiple a week, and with wrestling, so there's a lot of stuff. So we tend to highlight that. These templates really come in handy. Some other ideas that you could template out is if you wanted to do like a student spotlight or a teacher feature, which just rhymes. So you might as well do it, right? Teacher feature sounds so cool. So if you don't do that, maybe think about it. But you can have the same template so that when people see it, they're like, oh, yeah, this one, there is something in our brains that will see a similar looking image and draw that association. And then, the fourth one that we want to talk about is reviewing social media analytics, right? Now, this isn't necessarily to help us make the most viral content. What this actually is mainly for is to prove to your administration, if they're forcing you to do this, that you're doing it well. There's a lot of eyeballs, and maybe they should pay you a little extra if they aren't already. That's always a win. Or, as we'll see in an example of Kearney High, you actually can maybe get some sponsors for the social media work that you're doing, and bring some income into your program. And so, having a good eye on analytics and how many people are seeing stuff is never a bad thing. So we're just going to take a moment here too as well. If you're watching this, you're already in, Future Ready Educators. If you're watching this live with us, if you are watching this replay and you are not in Future Ready Educators, hopefully you're on your laptop so you can scan this QR code with your phone. But just know that we have built an entire community of digital media and broadcasting teachers who share ideas, and there's a lot, right, of teachers that are exactly like you, that are experimenting, building, and learning in real time, and you don't have to go it alone. So just putting that out there to join the community. And I see Taylor raise his hand real quick.
Yep, I know, it's just Brenner and Rob, thanks for being on, but we really want to start to encourage teachers now that we've got a lot of great momentum and there's just some incredible work being shared, to have you guys share the community with another teacher. Rob shared community with Philip at North Platte, and he's been a great addition to the community. So we want more of that. And so you can use this slide, take a screenshot, and text it to another teacher if you've got someone, maybe another business teacher, media, journalism teacher, those watching the recording. Please share this out. We want to continue to grow it. We're getting close to 100 active users a week, and we want to just keep that growing because we know they're out there. So keep on rolling.
Yep, like Taylor said, we are building momentum. This kind of end of the calendar year, 12 days of FRE challenge that we're doing has been a big proponent to that, of getting people to share ideas. And I mean, if you haven't looked at it, look at, just showcase your work and see the work that our teachers are actually doing, because it's fantastic. But if you don't have time to look, I have hand selected 4 schools for you to kind of take a look at. Actually, I two of them are the 2 teachers here in the call, so Rob and Brenner. So when we think about creating graphic templates for each season, This is Pleasanton's game day graphics. I think we pulled these from last year. But as you can see, very similar style and feel, very similar colors, similar font for the bottom, kind of where it says either, what the date of the tournament is, or whether it's conference or sub districts, or where it's being played at. So it's a very similar feel. And actually, I really like these graphics. Now, the school that I graduated from, our colors were black, red, and white. So maybe that has something to do with it too. But I really enjoy the look of these. And as you can probably guess, if you have multiple pictures from a media day of students, you can keep the game day font and kind of the background elements the same, and just kind of interchange players every other game, right? That's something that could very easily be done when you're putting these graphics together. And designing what you kind of want your look for the season to be, right? So that's a benefit to creating graphics templates. There's also a benefit to promoting your school events and live streams. So Milford does a fantastic job of this within their graphic of not only giving us the game day information, but then because they offer a live stream telling people where it's going to be at. So they stream with us on Striv, and so they make sure to put that link there, which is strive.tv/Milford. So really easy to type into a browser and navigate to catch the live stream. But again, the idea is you're promoting your school events to hopefully grow viewership and grow awareness, right? We're not just posting it to say, hey, we have it. We want you to get in and watch. We want you to see what we're doing. This is, if Milford and Adams Central is a big game, we want you to be watching that, right? And then follow the other social media channels is always a cool thing to kind of have on there too. The Carney example, like I was talking about with sponsorships, Rob's gotten very lucky over the years of kind of having a nice sponsor that they put on everything. It feels like so. When we pulled
Let's
these from
clarify. I
last
don't
year,
know if that's luck. I think that's skill
that
and
is true.
talent, and a AD who is really, really motivated to pay
That
for
is
all the
true.
things they buy.
Yeah, to pay for their well, they had some other sponsors for their court vision stuff, which if you haven't seen that yet either, like Carney, Rob, you've got a place to be. I need to catch a home game this year because you guys do really awesome stuff. But yeah, like I said, having a sponsor on your graphic helps generate money to buy the stuff, to get upgraded equipment, to just really keep taking your media program to the next level. uh, and it's a brand that knows, hey, I'm going to get viewership. Like when companies want to put their logo on something, it's usually because it's a two-way street. They give you money, they get viewership, hopefully they get business, right? That's the whole idea behind sponsoring. Also, just some are just local companies that really just want to help out a program, so there's that too. But a lot of times that there is a benefit to both sides in sponsoring stuff. And then with UTAN, one of our other examples of they use their social media channels to hype up the students, the athletes in their program. And so before the game or the day of the game, um, is posting about those hype videos that students have created for the others. And I see Rob, huge news for Carney and game day management came out today. Okay, Taylor, maybe do a little research on Rob's comment there, or Rob can maybe elaborate a little further because I've not been on socials at all today, so uh, missing a little bit. So, but the idea again, using your social media channels, there's lots of ways to do that. So, if we're ready to start, and we actually the teachers we have on here live, you guys are doing a fantastic job already. But for those new that are watching this, the 5 steps that we've kind of laid out for your plan. Yeah, Brenner, I agree with your comment. Rob, you cannot leave us hanging like that. We're gonna have to find this out. Um, Ready to start, right? Number 1 is identify your student team. So 2 ways I look at this. If you do have a class, identify the strengths and weaknesses of your students, not just to place them where their strong suit is. That helps, but also to do a little encouragement and extra teaching. If hey, for a long time. Okay, Rob says my bad. We're gonna settle this now. Flow Wrestling is doing a feature on the Kearney High stage duel. Okay, cool. Which also, if you haven't seen the stage duel that Kearney does, where they wrestle in the theater on the stage, that's a fantastic event. So, Rob, one of these days we're just gonna have to have you do one of these webinars and just talk about what Kearney does. I think that could be super valuable to our people.
Book it.
Yeah, we do need to book it. Rob, you're on the hook now. You decided to comment. That's you caused it. Um so back to the 5 steps. Identify your student team, right? Figure out who you've got. If you don't have a class and it's more of a club, find students who you kind of always see at events even if they're not involved in the event, right? Or even if they are involved in the event. So I played football all 4 years of high school, but as a member of the football team, I was still super interested in making game day graphics for the football team. And the beautiful thing about making graphics is that that doesn't have to be done during the game. So I could still play football, but during the day, I would make the graphic and then publish it. We'd use Class Intercom at the time, and admin would publish it, and out it went, right? And so, even as a member of the team, I could still satisfy the need to create and make a graphic and publish it. So, your students can be anywhere. Just always be on the lookout for who that could be to help you. If you don't have your school's brand built out, work on that. Creating a content calendar again. If you are a current customer, we have that spreadsheet, our production event planner. Although uh, in a couple months, you might not want to use that because it'll look super outdated and not as cool as what me and Taylor have been cooking up in the background. But then, yeah, publish your content consistently and continue to review your analytics to gauge the success of it. Are you getting the eyeballs that administrators thought? Or honestly, if it does poorly, not that I think it will, say, hey, let's not make it so I have to be at every event if nobody's looking at this stuff. Let's just highlight the big ones. Um, so so use those to your advantage. And remember, we have some free resources in FRE. We have the media program starter kit where we talk about your school brand guide. We've got um, introduction to Canva and how to put your brand guide in Canva. And again, we've got the content calendar, which is PEP, our production event planner. So again, the final big idea thought is your students are already on social media. They're already consuming content. How can we make them become producers of content? We don't want them to just consume. We want them to produce. And there are students out there that want to do it. They don't know where to start. And you, as their teacher, get to be in this really awesome spot where you can say, hey, here's how we do it. Here's how you can help us and our school social media channels. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I know we got Rob and Brenner in here. So if you guys do, if not, at the end of every webinar, I had to do this the entire first semester. We'll get some fresh photos for the second semester webinars, but just a reminder of why we do things is you see these kids, and yeah, these might be broadcast heavy, but there's also a lot of kids that double up and do both the broadcast and digital media. And these are students that, as you look at their faces, they are getting jobs in the media industry, or they are getting accepted into college to pursue a passion that they found in high school. I am here because of the opportunities that I had as a student in high school. And now I want to give back and continue to see others succeed as well and benefit. And Taylor and I, again, that's why, I mean, Taylor, you started you started Strive as the initial idea back in 2012 with a platform, and it's evolved from just being a live streaming platform, but the idea has kind of always been the same, is giving students an opportunity to help the schools.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So social media, I got a post that I just put out. Who's so when the recording's up, maybe we can just add that video to that post with some screenshots and keep showcasing your work. And hopefully, you guys win some prizes here next week when we do our giveaway. Have a great Wednesday, guys. Thanks, Hoosh.